This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday morning, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we're your hosts. I'm Alexis.
I'm Grace.
And we're continuing our wonderful Halloween spooky season arc. And in a very special case, today Grace is doing a two-part, or I should say part one of a two-part episode. You guys are going to be here for a while. It's
4
two
hours.
whole episodes in one. Yeah, right. Have fun. Oh my God, really? Are each one's 2 hours?
We'll probably make them that long.
Yeah, knowing us, and because I sneaked a peek at the episode tracker and saw what you're talking about today, and I am very, very excited. I gotta say, I have seen this before, what you're talking about, but it's been quite a while. Okay, so good. Refresh me, and on that note, I'm gonna hand it on over to you.
Yes, excellent. Well, that was actually my first question was, I assume you've seen this film that I will be doing, but how long has it been, do you think? Do you remember a lot of it? You probably remember the vibe, some characters.
Yeah.
What's in the memory bank?
What's in the memory bank? Actually, well, in terms of the story, maybe about like 50%. I kind of remember like some of the overarching stuff, but really what I really remember from it is a lot of the food, a lot of crawfish. A lot of good beignets going on. I remember watching it when I was younger with my brothers when it first came out, because I think, well, I'll let you get to that, but I think it was the first of its kind in terms of the show and the universe that we're talking about. So it was just a very big deal when it came out, and it was very spooky and creepy vibes. So the three of us really, really loved watching it when we got it on VHS, I think from Blockbuster or something.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. So many things are throwback. So yes. This also, that was helpful because I think there's a chance that this is the second one that ever came out of this variety. And so you might be combining the first of its kind with this one. Due to your food comment of location based. But what are we talking about here? We'll find out.
Yeah, get at it. Yeah.
We are talking today and next week about the 1999 film masterpiece, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
Yes. Film masterpiece.
And yes, this is a classic TV movie version of Scooby-Doo. And the first one that they had ever done actually was Zombie Island, which is, I think, maybe what you're thinking about, if that had to do with New Orleans or something.
Yeah, you're right.
But this was a follow-up, and it does tie some plot lines and storylines from the first one into this one. This was the second Scooby-Doo movie, TV movie.
Gotcha.
Thus probably the confusion there.
Yep.
Which works to my favor because it means you don't remember it as well, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Exactly. But yes, as you said, it was a huge deal to youth like us that there was a whole movie coming out that starred Scooby and the gang. And throughout the years, following these films, they've just done more and more, including eventually live action films, et cetera, et cetera. And basically all of them, it's basically just a Scooby-Doo episode, except a bigger mystery, bigger shenanigans, bigger clues. A little longer. And this is no different, except for the fact that this one is a Halloween episode. And so I have not seen this film in a very long time as well, easily over a decade. So I started out by doing a quick Wikipedia of when it came out and was gobsmacked by the cast of this film. So we'll meet the additional characters as in this film as we go. So I'm not going to fully tell you which voice actor plays who, because one of them is a big reveal later on. But I'll just tell you whose voices appear in this and who else they are in the world. So first, we have Jennifer Hale, who was Sam in Totally Spies, and Mandy.
She played both of them?
Both. Girl can do both.
I wonder which one is more like her normal voice. Hopefully Sam.
Sam, actually, because once I figured out who it was, I was like, this is Sam.
Yeah.
The voices were not that different from Sam. And then Jane, I'm going to say her last name wrong, probably. Jane Weedlin, who's a member of the Go-Go's. She's one of the founding members of, it's a rock band, the Go-Go's.
Okay.
Big 90s band. Tress McNally.
Oh, that's a legend right there.
Get ready for this list.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Animated voice icon, including Dot and the Animaniacs, Gadget and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and Futurama. Okay, you know who from Futurama?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Good. She's a big name.
She was just in the new episode that dropped earlier this week, actually.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
We should probably tell them then, since you know who it is. Mom from Futurama is who Tress plays. An icon of the show.
Yes.
And finally, last but absolutely furthest from the least, a voice we've featured before in one of our shows. A voice that is undeniably perfect. An icon, a hero of ours, not just in animated voices, but in film generally.
Wait. Oh my God, I think I know. Oh my God, I know. And now it's coming back to me.
Tim
in the movie.
fucking Curry.
Yes, that's right. Isn't he the author? Yes, that's right. Oh my God, I totally forgot. Oh my God. I can't wait until you're done with this so I can go back and rewatch this movie.
Yes, we have to wait until both parts.
I know.
Yes, so Tim fucking Curry is in this film.
Yeah,
playing
I totally forgot.
a main character, and thus we get his soothing, sweet British vocal cords the whole fucking movie.
Yes, I cannot wait to rewatch this.
It is perfect. Like the second I saw that on Wikipedia, I was just like, it's perfect. This is a perfect film. I have also no notes.
And now it is coming back to me, the differences between this and Zombie Island. Just even you starting with that. No, because I feel like I remember who the three ladies you just named voice. And I'm like, oh my God, wait, is that their first appearance in the Scooby-Doo verse? Yes, but I'll let you get to that. I don't want to steal your thunder, because now I'm like, wait, oh my God, it's all coming.
Yes,
back to me.
It's all coming back to me. Speaking of 90s hits.
Yeah, right.
Celine Dion.
This was right up there with The Witch's Ghost. Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't use that song. Celine Dion didn't give the rights to that for Scooby-Doo and The Witch's Ghost.
She?
Weird.
Get it together, Celine.
No, I'm glad that it's slowly coming back to you, because that's what watching this film, like, I would love throughout this for you to shout out when all of a sudden you have these brain blasts.
Memory
because while watching it, that's what was happening to me. It was just
nice.
Like, oh my God, I remember that. Or being like, wait, I thought this happened. And then it did or didn't happen. And just it was like a hypnotherapy recovered memory situation happening.
Justin walks in on you watching it, and you're halfway crying and halfway laughing. He's just
he just shuts the door. Doesn't even ask me if I'm okay.
No.
He's like, okay, bye.
Bye. Have a good night. See you.
Yeah. Shuts the door. But yes, so we are going to break this, as we've said, into two parts, not only because it's a movie, but because we're going to get into a little bit of history things and some Wikipediaing of things. But we start out with a full moon and creepy music over my favorite place to be, a museum.
Yes.
Again,
going back to our roots.
No notes on this film. It is perfect.
Yeah.
Through and through. So we have the curator locking up for the night, and we see all of Mystery Inc., Daphne, Fred, Velma, Shaggy, Scooby are all hiding within various exhibits in the museum. And just before the curator locks down the last exhibit and leaves, we see these two, can I describe them as Viking warrior mummies? They were a lot of things at once.
Okay, yeah.
Come out to, I guess, kill the curator, because they raise their axes above the curator's head, and they're about to strike down until Shaggy and Scooby pop out of their exhibit and save him. And through a classic series of shenanigans, they try to catch this mummy warrior thing. But we see what actually catches these little villains here is someone from behind a velvet curtain who just sticks his foot out and trips them, and then they fall into the trap, etc., etc. And so the gang gathers at the scene to see how they caught these mummies and unmask them. That doesn't really matter who they are. They're just some random people trying to steal from the museum.
As per Old Man Jenkins or whoever. Yeah.
You meddling kids, et cetera, et cetera.
Would have gotten away with it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Actually, hilariously, like he does do that. And Freddy's like, we're not kids anymore.
Oh,
which is like an ongoing thing Fred says throughout this. He's like, we're not kids. And
I want to be treated like a serious adult.
We're 20 now.
Yeah.
And so we, while they're unmasking that, we see this person from behind the curtain step out who tripped the mummies. And we see this early middle-aged white dude in a burgundy blazer with a black t-shirt underneath. So he's formal but casual situation. He's like
smart casual.
Smart cash. Perfect. Yes. Yeah. Black pants. He's got black hair that's pulled back into a ponytail, a goatee, and thick rimmed black glasses. And before we talk about who this is, while we're discussing about what someone looks like, we got to briefly talk about the animation of the gang.
Oh, yeah.
Film. Because for some reason, that when I saw this as a child, I had no questions about it. But now as an adult, I was like, wait, why did this change? Like, was it feminism? ? But Fred and Daphne's outfits have changed, but no one else's have.
Yeah.
Like Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby all look exactly the same. So Fred is like a little softer in his animation, even though I think they're like between the ages of 18 and 20 during this film. Like he looks more boy-like than he did before. He's in now a casual blue t-shirt and jeans, and over the blue tee, he's got like a white denim look going on with some like, utility pockets, like a white denim jacket situation. Yeah. And Daphne is what I can only describe as like a news anchor. Her hair is like still the signature orange, but instead of like super like voluptuous, it's like nicely like coiffed and a little tighter, full set of bangs.
They're grown up now, Grace.
Exactly. They're mature now.
Matured.
And so her eyes are like contact lens blue. I don't know what she did to dye her irises or some shit. But she's got on a not very cute, like purple blazer that's buttoned up and a purple pencil skirt with a green blouse underneath. And like throughout the years, they have redone Daphne the most, I think. This was a hard pass for me on this one. But it turned out that the reason for this, at least for Daphne, and I guess they'd strung Fred along, was that this, like we mentioned, was a continuation of the previous film, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Yeah.
And at the start of that film, the gang, after high school, supposedly, had split up to do their own things, which is also the beginning plot of the live action Scooby-Doo that has Matt Willard, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Sarah Michelle Gellar in it, and whoever else is in it. Those
Linda Cardellini.
Thank you. I was like, I can't remember their other names. But anyways, which we like should cover one day. Anyways, but during this like split up time before the gang gets back together in the, again, first film, Daphne literally was a travel show host.
Yeah.
Like being a host, it's like a History Channel, like Ghost Hunters-esque series.
It's just crazy as like an 18 or 19-year-old.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
the fuck is your cred?
Like,
her family's rich.
Like, look at influencers today.
True. This is true.
You just gotta have a good face for TV, which Daphne does.
And good producers who write your scripts for you.
Exactly. And a good cameraman, which is Fred.
Yes.
So he was her cameraman, which is why he's in a little more cash outfit. And she's
that's why he has the utility pockets.
Exactly. He's
gotta
ready.
be able to hold all those gadgets for your camera.
And he's gotta move quick, especially ghost hunting and like traveling the world, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so Daphne was like literally in her like TV show outfit, which I guess was her being like, yes, I am mature. Don't you see? Like, look at my
I host a whole history program. Don't you know?
Adults wear.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's why no one else got a makeover. Apparently, is because that was their plot line. well, we should eventually cover Zombie Island. I don't remember it at all, but
maybe next Halloween.
Yeah, we should. Well, you should do that one since you had some vague memory and I have none.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the gang's together again, blah, blah, blah. All is well. And things get even better, even more well, if you will, for Velma, at least. Because the dude with the ponytail who walked out from behind the curtain, it turns out, is the world famous horror author, Tim Curry, aka Ben Ravencroft.
Yeah.
Voiced, yes, by a personal hero, Tim Curry. And Ben is Velma's personal hero. He's basically like Stephen King, essentially, a British Stephen King. British and far more suave.
Way more handsome. No offense, Stephen King, but yeah.
Maybe doesn't have the coke habit he had to kick, but cannot confirm or deny that.
Yeah, honestly, he may have.
We should speculate about that throughout.
Maybe at the end. Well, yeah, we'll come back to that.
We'll see what he's been up to.
Yeah.
But Velma starts hardcore fangirling over him.
Of course.
And it turns out that Ben Ravencroft here is also a fan of Velma and Mystery Inc. So he's heard of them through what is, the small paranormal world and crime scene that Mystery Inc. obviously operates in, and he as a horror and crime author also operates in. So we've got a little Venn diagram. They got a little crossover in like this paranormal crime world.
Yeah,
we're also in it now.
We are now officially. Venn diagram. Oh my god, do you think Ben Ravencroft has heard of Saturday Morning Mysteries?
Oh, do you think Tim Curry knows who we are?
Stephen King. Hey, I told you guys to tweet at Stephen King in last week's episode.
So get on.
Does he know who we are?
Have you done it yet? Go do it now.
Go do it now.
So Ben explains as they unmask the mummies that he had been at the museum that evening and day researching his new book when he saw some sus behavior afoot and stayed to investigate, and was very grateful when Mystery Inc. ended up being there too, since they're actual quote unquote investigators. And he just, kind of helped them out. And after seeing what a fangirl Velma is, which I will say, let's keep in mind, they're probably between 18 and 20 now.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to guess maybe towards 20 maybe now, because they were,
they were
over 18 in Zombie Island.
Exactly. So, they'd been gone for a couple years, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm
still creepy, but
still weird. And there's no overtly flirting stuff, but just Velma being obsessed with him. I needed to make sure that she was also 20 for my own Velma girl. So, but it is a little creepy because Ben is oh, well, you guys are obviously huge fans of mine. And so he mentions that he right now is on his way back to his hometown of Oak Haven, Massachusetts. And he goes back every year this time because the fall is the most beautiful time to be there. And he goes back for a couple weeks to do some writing, to get some quiet time. This is his retreat, basically, is going back to his hometown. And he says if Velma and the rest of the gang are interested, they could come see his hometown too, see his roots. I think it's kind of like how people will go visit wherever the fuck Stephen King is from in Maine.
Yeah, in Maine.
Type of thing. And go fangirl that way, fanboy that way. And so they're okay, sounds good. We could use a vacation. And it sounds beautiful. And Velma's I'll go anywhere with you, Ben. And he's okay.
All righty.
Okay, girl.
Ease back here.
Maybe I take that back. But there is one more thing that got a makeover.
Ooh.
The mystery.
Oh. Yeah.
Instead of the, 1960s / 70s, VW bus van. This was a bad choice. All the makeovers were bad.
You're not feeling them. Okay.
This was is a boxy 90s sketchy van. When you think of the white van you don't go near.
Yeah.
It's that. But
they painted it so it's okay.
Yeah, it's trash. I hated it. I was if I knew anything about cars, I could tell you which one it was modeled after, but I don't, and I didn't care enough to look it up. It's bad. I hated it.
Okay.
But still, it's a perfect movie and no notes. I stand by that statement.
what is perfection? Nothing is truly perfect. There must be flaws in everything.
Exactly.
So
That's what makes it art.
yes.
This is art. This film is artistic.
Yes.
So anyways, they all head to Oak Haven in Massachusetts, and it's nestled into the countryside with rolling hills blanketed with trees that are all now in the reds and golds of fall, with old, white barns dotting the rivers that flow through the town, and beautiful covered bridges and churches, and it is idyllic and gorgeous. But as they pull up and into Oak Haven, Ben says, and I will say, Tim Curry has some interesting delivery.
Oh no.
Great choices.
But it's still perfect, and we love you, Tim Curry.
Perfect. And he is perfect, and this film is perfect. I'm going to try my best to imitate this line. What other beyond this? Okay. So they're like driving in, and he has been giving them a tour of the country.
He's in the mystery machine with them.
So he's in his own car, and Velma's driving with him, and he's like giving him them a tour. No, I will say I like cut this part out hilariously before this line delivery. Velma is like, and then at the end of blah blah blah, I just couldn't. And then Ben's like, oh look, we're pulling into the town. And she's like, what, already? And he's like, yes. So he's like, get out of my car, girl. Yeah. But this line part, so this is just to Velma, but he goes, see, welcome to Oak Haven. What? Which is the line delivery of the what, which is a choice he made. What? Because he is shocked as they enter Oak Haven and hit traffic in this small ass Massachusetts town. The streets are jammed with honking cars, filled with people on the sidewalks and in and out of the stores. And Ben explains to Velma that Oak Haven is a quiet, off the beaten track town that nobody knows about or goes to.
Apparently not.
Yes, apparently not. And so he does see the mayor on he's like in the town square. So Ben pulls over to figure out like who the fuck are all these people and what is going on here.
Yeah.
Again, what?
He just received that script that morning that he read it. He's like, I didn't have time to get into character. I didn't know the emotion going on in the town.
Quite yet.
Wasn't sure. Yeah.
I've never been to Oak Haven. I'm a method actor. I need to go there to
What would Ben feel in this moment? What would he feel?
Here. And so what?
Was that good? Was that a good take? Good? All right, let's keep it going.
No, I only do one take. I only need one take. And he's
Sir Tim Curry. Exactly. Thank you very much.
And so Mayor Corey is a man with curly hair. He's got thick mutton chops. He's got a blue suit on with a turtleneck underneath. And he's greeting all of these tourists who are coming in and out of the town square. And he's thrilled when he sees Ben and his friends. And the mayor's responses to all of Ben's, like, what the fuck is this? Essentially, is just saying, like, isn't this great? Like, business is booming. We're putting on the Autumn Fest this weekend, and all of these tourists have come from across the country for it. There's even tomorrow night an Autumn Fest. We've got a concert going on. Like, this is the shit, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And as Ben is like stammering in his confusion, another townsperson comes up, and his name is Mr. McKnight. And he runs kind of like the local pharmacy, kind of like drugstore situation. He knows Ben. Again, this is Ben's hometown. They all grew up together. He runs up to Ben and pulls out a box of merch t-shirts, telling Ben that, like, Ben, this one's on the house, but you better get it now. I'm about to sell out of these shirts at my store. Like, the town is popping, and I'm like running low. And the merch has a green witch on it on the front. And it says, I met the ghost of Oak Haven, and then in parentheses, and lived.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
It's marketable.
Yeah, it is marketable, very much so. And at the mention of a ghost, obviously Mystery Inc.'s ears perk right up. Yep, including Scooby's, who's literally do.
Maybe just from fear, but everyone else is like, hell yeah. Job, like, aka unpaid volunteer work.
Yeah, exactly.
Scooby and Chad, you're like, let's get the fuck out.
Yeah, Daphne's probably like, oh no, this is paid for me now, though. I'm comping this to my business card from a travel show.
They're like her crew, considered her crew or whatever.
Yeah, Velma, you're on the tax boom. Deduction. Perfect.
Yeah. But Shaggy and Scooby are security.
Yeah, exactly. And so noticing this, their interest, the Mayor Corey, who I'll just refer to as the mayor, explains like, yeah, we got a fucking ghost in town. That's why all these tourists are here. They're basically all ghost hunters. Y'all want some merch too? Like McKnight, hook them up with some t-shirts. And actually, it's funny that y'all are interested in this ghost, specifically Ben, because it's the ghost of your ancestor, Ben, the witch Sarah Ravencroft. And at this, Ben loses his fucking mind at the mayor and McKnight, saying that he thought that they put this witch shit to rest about Sarah.
Like loses his mind, so it sounds like an anger, not like, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't have a mental breakdown.
Yeah. I was like, oh, what are we talking about here?
He doesn't relapse onto coke like CBK or something like that.
Or does he? The anger is that
is fueled.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a little too angry. But anyway, because of the coke. But no. He is just very mad that they would even bring this up. This seems like this has some history in the town. And Ben is like sick of people bringing this up. But the mayor says like, whoa, Ben, like this is not our fault. We are not the ones who brought Sarah into this. She brought herself into this. And like, here's the thing. We may have, like this speaking as the town, we wanted to like recreate kind of like a Puritan village that had like founded our town. So, like back in Ohio, they'd have like the little like, like pilgrim villages where you can go and like churn butter and like that type of shit.
Yeah. Sharon Woods.
Exactly. We all went on school field trips.
Trips there. We all churn butter once in our life. Are you from Ohio if you haven't churned butter?
Exactly. While like some slightly like 20-year-old looks bored as fuck.
Yeah.
At their like fall job.
Like sweeping in the background, whatever's rolling her eyes.
Probably listening to their iPod at the time or Walkman, et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, so like they decided to build one of these little towns. It was a Puritan village that like founded Oak Haven. But after they built it, this ghost started appearing and haunting the shit out of this town. And Ben's like, how do you know it's Sarah though? This is just making assumptions. And the mayor and McKnight tell him like, no, she fucking told us it was her. Like, she has not been shy that...
She announced herself when she haunted in the room.
Yeah, she was like, what up, homies? It's me, Sarah Ray. It's your girl, Sarah Ray.
I'm back, bitches.
Guess who's back? Back good.
Sarah's back.
Tell your friends.
Haunt your friends.
Haunt your friends. And so hilariously, Fred and Daphne look at each other and roll their eyes, and they're like, let us guess, you disturbed her resting place with construction. Now she's haunting y'all. And the mayor's like, wait, yes. How'd you guys know? And they were like, elementary, dear mayor. Elementary.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Yawn. Next. But the mayor brings them all to this recreated Puritan village where, yes, there are people dressed up as Puritans, churning butter, making candles, all of that good stuff we've all done.
Yes, also have made candles.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. They even have those like old timey, I don't know what they're called. I gotta look this up. It just obviously did not. But like, you know what they would like keep prisoners in with like the arms and the head?
Oh, the stocks.
The stocks. Yes, thank you. They've got
something like
a line of stocks up in this village that people are taking pictures in.
Cute.
Little tourist attraction. Yeah, oh my God, do it for the gram or MySpace.
Yeah, this place deserves to be haunted.
Yeah, Exactly.
All the people that died in those are like,
are there some stakes that witches were burnt at? We'll see.
Props.
But yes, this place is brimming with tourists taking photos. Probably some school field trips are running around in there, et cetera, et cetera. And while Scooby, Shaggy, Fred, and Daphne explore the attractions and look for some ghosty signs, Velma and Ben are talking to the mayor a little more. And while exploring, though, Scooby is, digging around. I think he was like chasing a little squirrel or a gopher or some shit like that, and finds this like very old, rusty, square piece of metal that looks like a shoe buckle. And so even though like they realize, or like someone tells them like this is an artifact that's probably like 400 years old, Shaggy is just like cool and puts it on his shoe instead of like preserving
Where's
it
your museum? Like, yeah,
to a museum or like the city. He's just like, this is called fashion. Look it up. Puts it on one shoe.
One shoe.
One shoe buckle.
Mismatching is all the rage.
The 90s were a weird fashion time.
Yes.
1999, it's a weird time for everyone. But back at Velma, the mayor, and Ben, the mayor explains that, yes, the disturbed Sarah Ravencroft was a persecuted witch way back in 1657 in this town.
Okay.
Ben immediately is mad about this witch slander that is going on. And he explains that Sarah was unjustly persecuted.
Well, fair, as we've covered in previous episodes.
Exactly. Very timely that I think your last episode was about witches.
Yeah.
You've talked about the Salem witch trials before, et cetera,
last Halloween. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And so Sarah wasn't a witch, he says, but she was a woman who simply practiced natural healing and was like an herbalist and was unfairly accused due to her eccentric ways. And Velma pipes in that this is classic mid-1600s behavior, just like the Salem witch trials. If you're a little eccentric, a little weird, piss off your neighbors, people be calling you a witch.
Talk out of turn. Show your ankles a little too much. Oh, she's a witch.
A witch, burn her.
Her at the stake.
Burn her. So, and if you want more about the Salem witch trials, yes, go back to last Halloween, listen to one of Alexis's episodes, I believe, where she talks
Classic witch or something like that. Yeah.
Talks, which I think it was also a Scooby-Doo episode, perhaps.
It was.
Yep.
Why do I feel like that witch's name was Sarah too?
That's what I was going.
Yeah, I was like, was this movie totally based off of that, or like that episode maybe was a lot of the inspiration for this? Maybe I don't know.
I was going crazy thinking about that, and then continually forgot to look it up. But in my head, it was the same name, Sarah Ravencroft.
I don't think it was Ravencroft, but for some reason. I feel like it was Sarah. Maybe not though. That's just like also a super common name.
Exactly. So I was about to say
someone's
like, it could
been
be
named
a
Sarah.
nod to like the Salem witch trials and kind of like the group of 6 girls who like caused it all. Maybe one of them was named Sarah, but again, that's just a super fucking common name.
It's,
so like,
I think I know at least 6 Sarahs.
Sarah was persecuted during the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
Anyways, Ben agrees with Velma and is like, yes, you are correct. So many people were getting persecuted at this time unfairly, mainly women. But yes, again, she wasn't a witch, but a healer. And I think that she kept a journal of all of her patients and kind of like herbal remedies and kind of like her, I guess, like doctor's log of sorts. And
potions.
Exactly. Potions, aka medicine.
This is why people died at like age 30 back then. That medicine was like black magic.
Like you were having
like
some
praise.
And he proceeds to ask the mayor, asking basically that like, were there, kind of he sees Shaggy's fashionable shoe buckle, and he asks the mayor like, were there any other things that you found during kind of this construction? And the mayor says no, besides, more kind of like shoe buckle-esque things that would have stood, 400 years in the ground. So like, metal
preserve
objects,
them.
basically.
Yeah.
And Ben is disappointed because he thinks that if he can find Sarah's journal, he could clear her name and basically prove that she wasn't a witch, but instead that like this journal was filled with, again, medical records, her like herbal remedies, that type of stuff, and just prove that like, again, she was doing good. She wasn't some evil witch.
Yeah.
But while this conversation's going on, all of this reenactment shenanigans have worked up the appetites of Shaggy and Scooby, who ditch the group and go to dinner in town at some diner. And it's owned by this heavy-set balding man in a vest and bow tie named Jack. And Jack is at first very happy to see Shaggy and Scooby in this bustling restaurant. There's only like, one table left because of all the tourists. Yeah. But obviously, he very quickly regrets this because they, of course, eat him out of house and home immediately.
No consideration for small business people.
Have you seen Spirited Away?
Yes.
It's like the pigs at the beginning.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like that's literally what it is. Like they like
humans instantly turning into pigs.
Yeah, like
just like
chowing down
slop.
And like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's what they're up to over there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Meanwhile, Velma, Fred, and Daphne head to Ben's like childhood home, which is a straight up fucking mansion, to see where he grew up, see his, studio, where his genius comes from, et cetera, et cetera. So they're hanging out in his office, which is like, what?
Where is he? I just imagine Velma's like, I want to see other rooms too. Where his genius happens.
Where does your real inspiration?
Yeah. Where does the magic happen? Like they give like MTV cribs. They'd always go to the bedroom, like, and this is where the magic happens. And I was like, yes, the genius.
Ben like shuts the door on her. He lets Fred and Daphne in.
Velma, you stay there. Actually, Velma, can you go grab us something from the basement?
Velma, could you go? We're a little hungry. Could you go to town to that diner and get us some food and bring it back? Yeah. I can't think on an empty stomach, Thanks, girl.
As soon as she leaves, looks at them like she's fucking weird.
She always like this. Yeah. And they're like, this is
actually, no.
Yeah. Actually, no, she's just stalking you.
Really into you. Yeah.
Like, really into you, Ben. Yeah. You should be careful, Ben.
Yeah. I don't know why you let her ride with you. Up here.
Yeah. Ben was like, I regretted it. She took locks of my hair from my ponytail.
What? When? Is there any way to send her back to where we came from? Exactly. Like, oh, Velma, I left something at the museum. Would you please be a doll and go back and get it for me?
I left my other blazer there. Could you go? Yeah. I left an unfinished manuscript. Like, Velma is full misery.
Yeah.
Like that old film.
Yeah.
That would be Velma with this author.
Oh no.
Anyways. In his
Another great horror thriller movie.
Exactly. That I haven't seen but know about.
Yeah.
I truly actually this whole time I was like, Velma would be that film.
Yeah.
It's in the Northeast. Winter is coming. Someone who's
she's obsessed. Like super stalker obsession vibes.
With an author. Exactly.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And so in his office, yes, he eventually let Velma in. And above one of the fireplaces in this mansion is a painted portrait of a woman who has long brown hair on, layered skirts. She's got kind of like a headscarf holding her hair back. She's under this great, beautiful oak tree with kind of like a bunch of bowls around her. And she's holding some type of like journal or book or something.
Okay.
And Ben explains to the gang who's looking at this portrait that this is indeed a portrait of Sarah Ravencroft, his ancestor. And as he narrates, we go into a sepia-toned flashback from the 1650s, where we see a young and very much alive Sarah Ravencroft treating an old lady with something that she's kind of like mashed up in like, a mortar and pestle. There's like some smoke rising from it, but we see her like kind of foraging, dropping some natural herbs in there, having this old lady drink from it, and kind of the old lady smiles at her. And Ben continues to explain in this flashback that, yes, this is, and like Sarah's writing in this journal, that yes, he thinks this is a journal or a log of all of her patients. And she focused, and this killed me, specifically on those who couldn't afford medical treatments. Because I guess healthcare has always been fucked in the United States.
The tale as old as time. The tale as old as colonization.
Truly. And yes, that he thinks that this journal, like we said, would prove that she wasn't a witch doing spells, but a natural healer. And specifically, Ben says that she was what's called a wiccan.
Ah, okay.
No. Yeah. Let's head to Wikipedia here. See what I did there? Wikipedia.
Yeah.
To talk about witches and Wiccans. And let's note here, I obviously am going to get things wrong. Sorry to anyone out there who's into witchy things, practicing witchy things, or Wiccan-y things.
Yeah.
You all know I simply stayed on Wikipedia for this and just clicked on further Wikipedia links, all of 3 pages, and that was it.
Hey, that's a lot.
That was the most I
that's
probably
more than one
have done. It's usually one
so
and done.
You could say I reviewed multiple sources for this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. So let's start with witches. And obviously, I guess not obviously, but to talk about witches, I'm going to focus on like the Eurocentric history and definitions, because that's the lens we usually see them through in America. And also it's because here and in Europe, that's where, you know, Christianity really fucked shit up when it came to witchy things. And so by definition, witches are simply practitioners of witchcraft, magic, or sorcery. And historically, witchcraft and the witches that practiced it were said to do so specifically to cause misfortune to others. Sometimes what's called black magic. Essentially, they were seen, if you were practicing witchcraft, people assumed you had like, you know, malicious intent and were up to no good. Although there were what was called in some places cunning folk who also practiced magic, but they were healers or they were protecting you against the malicious magic. So it's kind of interesting that they were like, witchcraft is bad unless you're using it to protect me from the bad witchcraft. But most of you are practicing the bad witchcraft, which again,
we're going to get rid of all of you.
So all of you are out of here.
You get a few bad apples.
Yeah, ruin it for
everyone. The whole bunch.
And interestingly, taking kind of a step away from Europe, is that some form of like witchcraft and witches are found in cultures around the world, which I always find fascinating.
Yeah.
Some thinking that like concepts of witchcraft started to explain strange misfortunes and natural phenomenon that couldn't be explained at the time, which is obviously classic.
Yeah.
But like I said, witches can be anyone who practices witchcraft, magic, or sorcery of any variety, quote unquote, good or bad. But the earliest recorded use of the word witch in Europe dates back to around 890. Although they were obviously very present before then, the written work says, women who are accustomed to receiving enchanters and sorceresses and witches, do not let them live. So that's great.
So in the earliest times of mentioning the witches, they were already being like told to be murdered.
Exactly.
That was like the first mention of a witch was like murder the witch.
Yeah, murder the witch. Yeah. So like by the time it reached written record, that was the vibe of like, she a witch, burn her.
Burn her. Do not let her live. Got it.
Exactly. And so the word witch also appears in the Bible, which I did not know, obviously. And it's connected with devil worship. And of course, it's the Bible. So also about killing them, because the Bible is violent as hell.
Violent as hell.
If you will.
Especially the first or the
the Old Testament. Yep. Yeah. And that's where I think the most of the mentions of witch exist.
And that's why Christians hate anything involving like movies, books, anything like that involving witchcraft.
Exactly. Yeah. Devil worship, et cetera, satanic panic. You know it.
Yeah.
You love it.
You know it. You love it.
You've got it all. It's showbiz, baby. You'll love it. Plus, very interestingly, so obviously by the time mentions of witch and witchcraft have reached written word, at least in Europe, yes, like you said, it's already about killing them. It's already painting them in a very bad light. Obviously, at this point, Christianity is doing its thing, aka
Christianity is Christianity.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there are some notes that like the Inquisition also really kind of like amped up, I guess, kind of like the stereotype that we now, or that they had at the time about witches being evil, inherently evil. As they really leaned into witch accusations to murder people, which, were either fully made up, obviously, or most likely, again, in classic Christianity, they were purposeful misunderstandings of pagan traditions that then they said, you a witch. Oh, you practicing not Christianity? You're doing your traditional practices? You a witch. And, that to no one's surprise is what became the prevailing definition throughout hundreds of years following kind of Christianity's hold on Europe, because obviously history is written by who? The conquerors. So it tended to erase the cunning folk and healers and instead only paint them as evil sorceresses who use supernatural to do harm. So now let's talk about Wicca specifically, and Wiccans, which funny enough is also known as the craft, which is also a great film that we talked about last week.
Yeah.
And this is also very complicated. I'm going to get things wrong because Wicca and Wiccans is a purposely decentralized practice. So there's no one main guiding book like the Bible or the Pope. So practices and definitions and beliefs are all different and confusing, and it depends who you ask, essentially.
Yeah.
But one thing we do know is that the word Wicca is derived from an Old English term that meant witch. So giving a nod to pre-Christian, kind of pro-pagan past, and a nod to tapping into magical elements and traditions. And like I said, there's no real outset belief system for Wiccans, but most tend to be duotheistic, with a goddess who's connected to the moon and a god connected to the sun, or they're polytheistic, so believe in multiple gods.
Okay.
And this also is a nod to their connection with nature, which is kind of the underlying theme within the Wicca practices.
Yeah.
So many Wiccans believe that magic is a law of nature, but not something separate and supernatural. It's simply part of nature. Some think they can tap into this magic law of nature by fully using and tapping into their five senses, while others believe that they can't fully ever know how this magic works, but they see it in practice and thus know it exists.
Yeah.
Some believe that Wiccans are a positive force against powers of destruction that threaten the world, and their starred pentacle is often associated with Wiccans, and it represents air, earth, water, spirit, and fire. So again, tapping into the natural side of things. So this is obviously just like skimming a skimmed surface of Wiccans.
Yeah.
It is really interesting. I did have to cut myself off. The big takeaway about Wicca and Wiccans is that it's a religious and ritual practice. It has some roots in, again, kind of the more quote unquote pagan and witchy things, but it really is there to help empower people, build community, and connect with nature and be a force against, the destruction.
Sounds harmless.
Yeah. TBH, I was into it. I was like,
you're like, shit, I gotta stop reading.
Cool. Yeah. I like the Wikipedia page is real long, and I was getting in some rabbit holes. I was like, how do I find my local coven here?
And there
What's up with that?
And that leads to what I was about to ask. Like, there are still people, or ask slash say, like, people practice Wicca today.
Yeah.
Like, where people don't like outright maybe say like, yes, I am a witch of whatever, blah blah blah. They're like, no, I do practice Wicca though.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So it's still super prominent today. It's like across the world. I think mainly probably Europe and the Americas. But
and they don't practice it in like the joking way. Like, they legitimately like, no, like, it's their religion. Like, they're
exactly.
to it.
And that's why, it was really interesting in reading it, of talking about, even though again, there's no like centralized, like, obviously I keep comparing it to like things to Christianity is
unfair
religion.
Nothing compares.
Unfair religion to compare
to. Compared to the Abrahamics.
Abrahamics. But in the sense that, like in Christianity, there's like the communion and here's how you do it type of thing. In Wicca, it seems that like there are some rituals that have similar processes throughout, but a lot of it is really individualized. I think I think I did read that like some people don't like calling it a religion. It's more of like a spirituality practice, but it's still prominent. There's still like thousands and thousands of people that practice it, tune into nature themselves, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I think that in going back to Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, Ben Ravencroft is mainly emphasizing that his ancestor Sarah wasn't an evil witch.
Yeah.
Because according to the internet, all Wiccans are witches by definition because they practice witchcraft and supernatural traditions. And so with her connection to natural elements and doing good in the world, that this basically proves to Ben that she's more of a Wiccan instead of an evil witch. And again, it's just the term witch at the time had such a bad like definition and connotation that thus she was, persecuted, et cetera, simply because she was tapping into magic and using natural healing, etc. So Ben goes on to say that he's been searching for this journal for years, including around this old oak tree in the town square that he thinks is the one painted in the portrait of Sarah, which I guess just means he's been like digging up the town square whenever he goes home. Like, but he's a famous as fuck like author, so everyone's like,
who's gonna stop him?
Yeah.
he gets coked up so that he can do it.
He's out there in the middle of the night digging holes. They're like, but you know what? In the morning when he comes down, he refills the holes. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. When he doesn't find anything, he puts it all back to normal.
He puts it all back. He pays for the damages. We don't care.
Fine. Yeah.
But no luck. So I guess everyone is like, wow, Ben, that's so tragic. Can we go back to the village to see if we're going to get haunted? Let's go. And they just leave and go back to the Puritan village to be like, can we see your murdered ancestor as a ghost? Let's hit it.
Wow, yeah, that's sad. Yeah, she sounds like she was nice. Cool. Well, let's go see her ghost then.
Let's go see her haunt us because she might be evil. Let's do it. So, yes, they go back to town or go back to the Puritan village, where it's now nighttime, and they see still that the Puritan town is packed with tourists, and they are all hoping also to see the ghost. They've got cameras. They're the early, ghost adventures type people. They're ghost hunters, et cetera, et cetera. But Sarah is a no-show, and everyone is legit upset. They're like, I can't believe she didn't show up to haunt us.
She's late for her own party.
I know. Let's go. And everyone's like, maybe she'll show up at the Autumn Fest. She's taking a night off before the big festival. She needed to rest.
She's drained. We summoned her. Needed to rest a little bit, get caught up with the times.
Tomorrow's the big show.
What to wear. Yeah.
It's Autumn Fest. She's got to get her beauty sleep.
Yeah.
Not that she hasn't had it for the last 400 years, but she got to doll up a little bit.
Got to touch up,
Yeah. And Ben doesn't hide his disappointment as well, because he was hoping, like if she is here to haunt, like obviously, like I'd want to talk to my ancestor too. Like I get it from his perspective.
Spare me, attack them.
And just like tell me what's up though. Like, how's it going? I'm your great something. I'm related to you.
Yeah.
Which to me, I was like, have y'all never heard of a Ouija board? Like, call her up.
Right,
And
exactly.
our last episode.
Go back last week.
Get some Ouija talk.
I'll tell you all the steps on how to have a proper seance.
Exactly. And I guess that's just not his vibe. Hilariously, as they like head back to town, like, you know, Ben's kind of like moping on his way back to town. He's being a sad boy. Daphne and Fred are on the side, are like, Ben is like obsessed with this ghost.
Yeah.
And like he like can't stop talking about this journal. Like, dude, this was 400 years ago. Get over it.
Get over it. Like, bro, you're rich. What are you doing?
Like, you're rich. Hasn't that solved all your Daphne's like, that solved all of my generational traumas, being rich as fuck. What's wrong with him?
What's wrong with you?
I guess he's not rich enough.
But he needs to just write more books. But I'm also thinking, like, I mean, I guess I understand how he's sad, but a lot of it has me confused because I'm thinking, dude, this is perfect material for another book. Like, right? whether she's innocent or was innocent of like evil witchcraft or not.
Yeah.
Like, this is great source material
that you like. You should,
yeah, right. Like, you should be writing up a storm. There's like 5 books I could think of that you could write about, like witchcraft shit in this small Massachusetts town.
Which I did think that as well during this, and part of me was wondering that like maybe he's like, I need to tell my own story, but I need to have redemption for her. Like, being like, no, she wasn't an evil witch, and like
almost more of like an investigative account.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like, which, a fiction.
He did do kind of like crime horror novels type of thing. So maybe this is his own, like, this will be his autobiography or loosely based on a true story type of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the only thing I could really think about with like, I guess a combination of like, which actually, no, I will say he does back when they were at his house. And this is probably why I was going to say what I was going to say next is like, he's so obsessed with the journal. And like, he does actually say that learning about Sarah when he was young and about the journal is actually what got him into kind of like
that field.
Like paranormal and witchy stuff to begin with, and that's what inspired him to start writing. And so I think that's like why, to me, it's kind of like this like redemption full circle arc that he's on, is because like that was kind of his origin story to like his entire career and life, and he wants to like give her a proper ending type of thing. But yeah, I guess he's not into the Ouija board. He's like, that's offensive for her. I would never call upon her like this. And to like Fred and Daphne, I'm like, he is really obsessed. But again, this was like his inspiration for his entire life. And also like,
and a family member.
And also I was like, damn, if I had an ancestor who was like burned at the stake unfairly as a witch, like I'd want to read her fucking journal. Like, cool. I bet, like, I imagined that like in reality, her journal entries were just like shit talking the peasants around town of like, God, they think I'm a witch again. Like, God, I talked about universal healthcare. Now they're gonna burn me.
They're gonna burn me. God, go figure.
God, again.
God, I talked about wiping out everyone's debts, and here we go. I'm gonna get locked up in the stocks.
Got the pitchforks. But this whole time, as I mentioned, Scooby and Shaggy have been eating their way through this diner, and they're finally leaving the restaurant very, very late that evening when the rest of the town is empty. Because again, everyone, once they didn't find the witch, just went fucking home for the night, or the ghost witch or whatever. So as they're walking through town, owls are hooting, the wind is blowing, and it's silent beyond that. And they're starting to get spooked out by this. And even more so, they get spooked out because as they're walking around town, they kind of step off into an alleyway to like collect themselves and be like, there's not a ghost here. We're fine. It's chill. We're just having, you know, when you're really full and get some nightmares after eating too much, like that's just what's happening to us.
We're just hallucinating. There was just some PCP in that food. It's all good.
It's a small town. Who knows what was in there?
Good.
But as they're collecting themselves, they see some movement in the shadows, and they start to hear hissing. And naturally, they bolt the fuck out of this alleyway as these shadows start to get closer to them. But unfortunately, they do not run to safety.
Oh.
Unfortunately for them, they run back out onto the street only to be met with the wind picking up, the leaves around them swirling and cackling as directly in front of the full moon in the bright night sky, this neon green ghost appears with a pointed witch's hat, long old-timey clothing floating in the sky, her hair going everywhere, cackling and laughing at them.
Oh no.
Screaming, "This town shall pay for what it did to me."
You go, girl. Girl. Demand that respect.
She mad.
Yeah, she mad.
She's so mad that she shoots down from the sky at them and starts shooting fireballs from her hands.
Fuck. This is an advanced witch.
She kept some of that fire that they burned her with. She scooped some shit up, and she was like, I'm bringing this back in the afterlife, baby. I'm going to fuck you up with it.
Yes.
And she absolutely is, because she is shooting it directly at Shaggy and Scooby. As it hits at their ankles, we see it just fucking like explode on the ground into further flames and smoke. So yes, at this point, I'm like, was she a Wiccan?
Yeah, the lines are getting grayer.
Witchy shit here. Maybe
she died a Wiccan, but in her death, she became vengeful. You know, we've talked about it before. When you kill someone who, if they're not ready to die or if they're mistreated at their death, like they'll come back with a vengeance. And so in the afterlife, she took a hard turn. I think
away
from Wicca.
I think if Ben ever meets this witch, he's gonna have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah. He's like, oh shit, you are not helping my case here.
Yeah, I'm trying to help you. Cut out the fireballs.
Yeah.
But while they're running, they turn a corner in town and literally run into Daphne, Fred, Velma, and Ben. Okay. They explain what they saw. They're about to get murdered via fire from this witch ghost thing. And they take them all back to the spot where they were shot at by the ghost witch. But Sarah is no longer there. However, Velma does find some residue on the ground, likely from the fireballs that were getting fucking thrown at them. While Fred and Daphne find some broken branches on the ground from where the witch ghost rose out of. And they notice that the tops of the trees that like she came out from behind are perfectly flattened. And as they look around, being like, these are some weird things and clues, probably, they see some glowing lights further into the woods outside of town. So naturally, they head straight for the lights in these dark-ass woods.
Yes, of course.
So, smartly, yeah, obviously. So as they approach the glowing lights, the woods start to get foggier and start to obscure everything they see. Although Shaggy and Scooby, as they approach the lights and get closer and closer, they see the shadows that they saw before in the alleyway and start screaming, obviously. They're like, this is what we saw right before we saw that fucking witch ghost. Like, this is a bad sign.
Yeah.
But while they cannot fully see, they can hear. And what they hear is a ripping on a guitar and I'm a hex girl and I'm gonna put a spell on you. Gonna put a spell on you. And as the fog clears, we see 3 literal icons, 3 goddesses, 3 fucking rock stars. Who I think literally changed my life at the age of 7 when we watched this film.
Holy shit, you're right. We were so young watching this.
We were like
oh my God.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
And I think like it was a combination. And tell me your reaction as well once I reveal who these are. But I was like a combination of like in love with them and wanted to be them. And I still am all these things. Because I think these 3, well, I'll say who they are in a second. Showed little 7-year-old Grace watching this that like women can be badass moody rock stars as well, because this is the fucking Hex Girls. and they are shredding. Yes, the legends on stage right now. Their song gonna put a spell on you. So I'll pause here. Yes, you did mention earlier that is indeed the three voices of the special guest I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
What was your relationship with the Hex Girls as a child? And yes, this was their first appearance in the Scooby-Doo franchise.
Oh, I just love them. I mean, it was. There's always people saying like, what are your favorite like fictional songs or like songs that exist in fictional universes that aren't like real and stuff like that. And I put them up there with like probably my favorite like fictional music group, fictional band, whatever. Like they're so iconic. And maybe, I guess, I'm sure there were like all female groups and stuff before that. And even in like rock and stuff and like hardcore music, I guess, like with Joan Jett and everything like that. But like in our time growing up, and maybe I'm just forgetting, but like I can't really think of any. So to see like an all girls, just like straight up like shredding hard rock group was amazing.
Yep.
And now that I'm thinking about it, when you said that we watched this when we were 7, I was like, holy shit. Did that inspire me to like play the drums and the guitar and like bass and like be in a band and stuff like only like 5 or like less than 10 years after that? Because I can't think of what other like, because it was all rock music. I'm like, I can't think of what other inspirations for me liking rock at that age were. So yeah, amazing. And I will also say that they are a huge part of the Scooby-Doo universe because they have made appearances even after this movie. And so they're like, amazing
icons. The Wikipedia for this movie actually said that like they like most likely the appearance of the Hex Girls is like why this particular film was so successful. And you're right, of like at the time, like there obviously were other female rock groups, there always have been, et cetera, but like when I think of 90s, like grunge and like more hardcore rock and that kind of stuff, it's like I only know them as an adult now because it was more like underground and like what we were probably exposed to at the time, unless we had parents who listened to that type of music, which I don't think either of us did.
Neither of us did.
Like what we would have seen in all female groups was like the Spice Girls or like this was the
TLC.
Exactly. Where
that was what I thought of, but not hard rock.
Destiny's Child. Like it's all like pop, R&B, like that type of stuff. And so it's throughout all of that tends to be like a very girly girl and like that type of stuff. And so we weren't seeing like punk when we were 7 again, unless like our parents were into that world, which neither of ours were. And so I think that's why probably for both of us, like seeing this was so like shocking and inspiring that it was like, oh, girls can be hardcore too. Like girls can be badasses as well. Like, like
can be like hardcore, but also pretty while doing it too. Like not, like they were like, fashionable as fuck.
Yes, like they can be, you can be anything was like this moment.
And the music was freaking amazing.
Yes, which is why I noted earlier that literally one of the members of like who did the voice for Hex Girls was literally in a rock band called the Go-Go's. They wrote the music for it. Like they literally had a rock star write the music for this film. And like, we are just simply not worthy.
No.
So I'm going to pause real quick to describe the 3 Hex Girls that make up, or the 3 women who make up Hex Girls. So first we have Dusk, who is the drummer and backup singer. And Dusk is like pale ass goth girl skin, like has never seen the sunlight. She's got short blonde like pixie cut hair that she wears up in pigtails. She wears a long tight black green turquoise-ish dress that has really long sleeves, a necklace that has a silver X on it, plus a full leather choker that has like the spikes sticking out like dog collar style. Green lipstick and like a mile of eyeshadow and mascara going on. As the drummer, she's like the crazy one. She's got like a bit more of a temper and attitude, and we love this for her. And also, I know we've mentioned The Craft already in last episode we did. Like, I don't know which one came first, like this movie or The Craft.
I think the craft came
they
out earlier
definitely
than I think. Yeah.
modeled the women
Exactly. Yeah.
from the craft into the Hex Girls.
Exactly.
So then we have Luna, who is the keyboardist and backup singer. Luna is a black woman with this spiky, bright orange bob cut, and she's got some spiky bangs going on as well. She rocks gold hoops and a gold necklace with this like bright purple medallion on it. They all kind of have like a color scheme. So Luna's is purple. She wears these like cool ass purple gloves and has a purple dress on that has over it, and I'm obsessed with this like long bodycon kind of like button up dress coat cloak situation, almost like matrixy happening, and I loved it. It's fashion. She's got light purple eyeshadow and maroon lipstick on. She's like the chill one. She's got a kind of more monotone voice. She likes freaking people out with like the gothy witchy vibe, and she doesn't let anyone touch her keyboard. And while Dusk was the crazy one, Luna is like the cool girl.
Yeah.
And finally, we have Thorn, who's our guitarist and lead vocalist. She also's got the goth girl pale going on with long black hair with like tints of maroon and red in it. She's got like full vampire Elvira, Morticia Adams inspired vibe. She's got like this long or like this tight black and like red shadowy like dress on that includes fingerless gloves. It's tattered at the bottom. She's got like ankle boot heels on. She's got these like draped shoulder pieces and like a red sash around her waist. She also wears a bat necklace and has deep red lipstick on. And Thorn here really carries main character witch energy.
Yes.
So that is our band. They also all rock vampire teeth. Naturally.
Yes, that's right. They got the fangs in. Yeah.
Exactly.
Naturally, and of course.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And at the end of this badass gonna put a spell on you song, which, by the way, we get a full fucking music video. Like under the full moon, fog machine, explosions in the background, ooky, spooky, creepy, witchy vibe happening. And it's perfect. And again, imagine 7 to 8 year old Grace and Alexis, jaws dropped on the floor,
just watching this,
unblinking, wanting to be them. No, exactly. So at the end of this performance, the gang and Ben all cheer. You know, there's again explosions that go off of stage, and the Hex Girls finally notice Mystery Inc. and everyone, and they're like, "Who the fuck are you, and why are you at our rehearsal?"
Yeah,
good question. Correct.
Yeah.
But then Luna recognizes Ben Ravencroft in the crowd.
It's like they have to at least know him, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They're local. They're a local band. Ben's a local hero. Yeah. And even more so, they're like, oh my God, Ben Ravencroft, like, you're one of us. Like, you understand like the spooky, creepy shit that we're into. Like, he's cool. He can hang. And Ben is a little bit like, huh, thank you. Hey.
Indeed.
Because like they're also young adult women, but like
Velma's automatically jealous.
Yeah, Velma was like, excuse you, I understand you too, Ben.
Your music was terrible, by the way.
But those aren't even real vampire teeth. I've seen real vampires, Ben. I've seen real vampires.
Ben, remember me? Hi, Ben. Yeah. Ben.
She's like putting eyeliner on desperately, but doing a bad job.
Like putting a choker collar on.
She's taking Scooby's collar off.
Yeah.
And I
like putting it on super tight.
Yeah. But I'm punk too.
Hi, Ben.
Exactly. But despite recognizing them, the Hex Girls are like, we're rehearsing because we're like the headliners at Autumn Fest tomorrow. Get the fuck out of our rehearsal. And they're like, okay, we're so
security.
Sorry. Yeah, security, get them, or we're gonna hex you. And they're like, okay, sorry, we're out. Bye. Ben's like, oh, okay, like, bye.
They look like they actually could do that. So
I mean,
just go ahead and back out.
Exactly. Yeah. So they walk away back into the woods, and Fred notes that like the Hex Girls like did kind of seem creepy and thus maybe suspicious. And thus at this point, gang, we should probably split up for the night to follow a couple leads we got going on here. And Fred, of course, says, all right, Daphne and I will go keep an eye on the Hex Girls. And this moment is also why this film was iconic and life-changing, I think, to us as Scooby-Doo fans as children. Because Velma fucking calls Fred out and says, hey, Fred, why is it that you always seem to pair off with just Daphne? And Daphne starts blushing and Fred starts stuttering. Velma throws him a bone, though, and's like, okay, sounds good. Like, we'll go our separate ways. You guys go keep an eye on the Hex Girls. But I remember this being like this again was like a recovered memory, like a huge deal to me, because I think this was like the first, I don't know if they did it in Zombie Island. I don't think they did, but this I think was the first moment where the show was like, yeah, Fred and Daphne are together. Like a little tip of the hat to it.
Yeah.
Although at the time, I think I was just like, oh my God, Fred and Daphne. Like, oh my God, she's blushing. He's stuttering. Like, they're dating. They have a crush on each other. Where like now as an adult, I'm like, they're just going back into the woods to like hook the fuck up. Like, that's why they were like, we'll stay in the woods. Bye. We're going to go make out. Like, deuces. But yes, this like was a recovered memory of a big moment to me of, again, me being like, oh my God. And Velma calling Fred out for like going into the woods to get some with Daphne.
Yeah, right.
So yes, the gang splits up here and we're going to follow them all until they reunite. And so some time passes and we rejoin Fred and Daphne probably after they've hooked up, because Fred is standing like inches from Daphne and like really, I will say adorably for all that shit I just gave them. He's like stuttering and blushing and being like, Daphne, I've been needing to like tell you this, but there's like, it's never felt like a good time. And now feels like a good time to tell you that and then he's interrupted by the presence of the Hex Girls walking through the woods after their rehearsal, which is like low-key heartbreaking because I think Fred was about to confess his love to Daphne.
Yeah.
And got interrupted because, again, never a perfect time.
No such thing, especially when you're in Mystery Inc.
No, never a perfect time to express your love. And the whole time Daphne's just like, oh, Freddie.
Fred, what now, Fred?
Yeah.
Oh, the Hex Girls, look.
Oh, hey guys. No, they stay incognito because they hear Thorn telling the other two that they should perform their ritual tonight. Ooh. But Luna and Dusk are like, Thorn, we're too tired. Our powers are weak from rehearsal. But tomorrow, before the show, we should definitely perform our ritual. And Thorn is like kind of pissed about this. And she's like, fine, girls, I'll just do it myself tonight. And they all say, bad dreams, sisters, as they all go up into the woods, which we should adopt, like in our personal lives. Yeah, bad dreams, Sister Thorn. Yes. Bad dreams, Sister Luna and Dusk.
I love it.
Yes, it's perfect. So they all part ways, but Fred and Daphne decide to follow Thorn due to her mention of some spooky ritual. And they follow her, kind of creeping through the woods, back to her house where there is like a shed out back that she goes into. And they like peek over through the woods of the shed.
Questionable.
First of all, I'm like, Fred, Daphne, you guys are now trespassing.
Yes. And but she's like alone walking by herself in these woods and like through the dark town at night. Yeah, exactly.
To someone who you think is possibly a witch.
Yeah.
And now creeping into, again, peeking through the window.
Yeah.
They see the shed is filled with candles and dried plants and bowls and, mortars and pestles. And they see Thorn lighting the candles and starting to make a concoction that starts bubbling and smoking and like filling the room with smoke and fog. And then Thorn starts drinking the potion. To which Fred and Daphne are obviously like, this bitch is a witch.
She's a witch.
We should probably leave now. She's doing a ritual here. So they GTFO back into town to try and find the rest of the gang. But meanwhile, the rest of the gang, Velma, Ben, Shaggy, and Scooby, as they were walking out of the woods to go back into town to like try and see again where the witch had spooked Fred or Shaggy and Scooby, they find a set of tire tracks in the woods, not near any of the roads.
Okay.
So they follow the tires until they hit this decrepit old barn that they see Mayor Corey walking out of after he locks the door, looks both ways, and then scurries off into the woods, which is
a little shisty.
pretty suspicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Velma and Ben stay to break into the barn to see what he was doing in there, while Shag and Scoop go follow the mayor. And so Velma is able to break into the barn through an upper window, which hilariously she does by crawling on top of Ben and like standing on his like head. She's like, just a little further. And again, Ben, who's sick of Velma's shit, is like, I can't push you.
She's like stepping on his ponytail.
He's literally like knocking his glasses off with her feet.
Oh my God.
But again, whatever. Velma is able to crawl up and get in and then open a door for Ben, like kind of a side
Ben,
door.
Look at how athletic I am. How cool.
Ben, aren't you impressed? This was so easy. And
glasses
she's like
are like broken.
Yeah, he's got a footprint on his like face. She's like, wasn't I graceful like a ballerina? Like perhaps a performer, like the Hex girls. I'm more graceful than them. Don't you think, Ben?
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 Not responding.
Ben. She opens the door and unlocks it because she forgot to let him in.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, didn't I make that look so easy after she left him in?
She resays all of it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
but she does let Ben in. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever, Velma.
Yeah.
But in the barn here, they do find a cherry picker. So basically like a pickup truck that has a cherry picker on top. So it's like a kind of got like a hydraulic lift that you can, press a button and it goes up and down.
Okay.
But the engine of the truck is still warm, prompting them to be like, this late at night, who's out here picking cherries?
Picking cherries.
Yes, it is midnight. And if so, why would the mayor have been the one using this truck? He's not a cherry picker. He's a mayor. Doesn't make any sense. But back
get
in
it together,
town,
mayor.
Man.
Choose your path.
Back in town, you can't have both. We are a binary society, one or the other. But back in town, Shaggy and Scooby are following the mayor on a series of strange late night errands, including picking up a package from the hardware store that apparently the owner came to at midnight to meet the mayor because they're not open right now. And then the mayor goes and drops it off at the back door of another business in town. And he continues to do weird back and forths, like backdoor exchanges throughout the evening. And he continuously looks over his shoulder to make sure he's not being followed, and eventually slips into another rundown barn at the edge of town. And thinking they can finally corner him, Shaggy and Scooby go in after the mayor. But by the time they're able to get in, the mayor is gone. But what is in the barn is, you guessed it, the witch's ghost.
Of course.
She's up in the rafters because it's Shaggy and Scooby's, of course she's there. She's up in the rafters and starts screaming again at them, saying, how dare you disturb my resting place? This town will pay. And of course, she's shooting fireballs at them again in a barn.
In a barn. This is not good. This is not good.
Flammable place. There's a lot of hay there.
Wood and hay. Yeah. Oh
not
boy.
Great. But they run out of the barn and she is chasing them. Scooby and Shaggy, outside of the barn now, literally run into the mayor who was back in the streets of town. They don't give a fuck. They leave him for dead. They keep running. They do not stop and help him.
Every man for himself.
Yeah, screw you, mayor. And so they once again run directly into Velma, Ben, Daphne, and Fred, who had all wandered back into town trying to reunite from their various adventures. But once again, by the time they run into them and then turn around and try to show them where the witch was, the witch ghost is gone. And at this point, the mayor storms up to them being like, what the fuck are y'all doing right now? Like, what is going on? Because y'all just stormed over and ran into me and you are causing trouble.
Yeah.
And so they explain all of the spooky and suspicious stuff they saw this evening. They don't mention the mayor's own suspicious behavior, but that none of it's adding up. And they do say that Scooby and Shaggy have been chased twice now by the ghost.
Yeah.
And to everyone's shock, Velma says, you know what? Like, Shaggy and Scooby keep getting fucking spooked out. This place is just too scary. Maybe we should leave.
Huh?
And Shaggy and Scooby are like, yes, 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 let's go home. And the mayor is like, oh, so soon? But then Velma adds, after we get just one more clue, and then we'll leave. But I could probably get this clue tonight and have this mystery solved up with a nice, pretty bow right before the Autumn Fest.
Okay.
And with that,
confidence, we love it. We love
Velma
it.
confidently hatching a plan is where we're going to end our first part.
Okay.
With the gang suspicious of everyone in town, a fireball throwing witch ghost still on the loose, and the gang huddling up to hear Velma's hatched plan on how to catch this ghost.
Okay.
But, dear listeners, things are maybe not all what they seem. So tune in next week for our second and final part of Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
Yes, and the end of our Halloween arc at that.
Yes. Exactly.
It's all coming to a close. Well, great job so far. You've got me on the edge of my seat to the extent that I don't remember everything that happens at the end of this. I'm like, ooh, what? I'm trying to. Well,
there's lots of twists
few
and
things I do
turns
remember, but yeah, I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to hear her tell it to me again. Yes. So wonderful.
So, stay tuned, everyone. And between now and next week, Alexis, who should our listeners tell about this show?
You should tell. You know, dang, I'm so mad at myself. I thought of something earlier on in the episode, like, ooh, that's the who they should tell, and I forgot it.
Classic.
Yeah, man, everything I'm thinking of we've done before. Yep. So you should tell a history show host, I suppose.
Nice.
A lot of them on Instagram or X or Twitter, whatever the fuck, and let them know.
Good.
Who should they tell?
I like that. I think after that, you should tell a paranormal author. So not necessarily like a horror author like Stephen King, but someone who specifically writes about the paranormal things, like ghosts and aliens and cryptids. Yeah. And let them know about this show. They'll love it.
Awesome.
Great.
Well, until next week.
See y'all next week. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.